Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Abdullah Konte once again with another episode of Win Sports. We're here to talk about uniforms again, and I don't really want to be talking about it too much. Obviously, I think it's a conversation that we know new uniforms are coming. We know that there is going to be a change. I learned a lot from the last time we talked about this because, obviously I did some edits and got a lot of feedback. Look, I mean, they're going to be rolling out something new this year. We don't know exactly what it is. I think my biggest thing is that I'm not really a fan of the taco holder logo, and I think that it kind of got me thinking of how it would look if they went to a full spear. Because so many people that that had commented and reached out, mentioned that it shouldn't even be an alternate. The edit I did was an alternate, and they were like, it should just be the full-time uniform, right? And I agree when it comes to the logo, especially on the helmet. I would much rather see the spear than the W. And obviously, there's a large amount of people that want the old logo to come back. It's not coming back. I'm always going to get comments about that anytime there is a discussion on uniforms or something like that. But it's not coming back. And I think that for them, what is the best thing that they could do to kind of bring those ties back and the look. I do think a spear on the helmet would look great. And another thing was a lot of people talking about the black uniform. Like, what would they do with the black uniform? So I kind of made concepts of every uniform when it came to, alternate, the blacks, the, at home and away. So, I first want to talk about, the edit that I did do. So many people had said things about how they really just did not like, the Commanders. Look, most people do not like the Commanders name. I get it. But really, people did not like seeing the Commanders on the front of the jersey. They definitely did not want to see that. They were unhappy seeing that. Obviously, there was talk about the trim on the number, and I'll be honest, I'm just not. This is, that was my second time doing a jersey swap, and obviously there's things I'm still learning. So the number thing was something that was kind of harder for me to do. But I think that they're probably going to move towards a white number, kind of going back to how the team was before. So yeah, that's basically how it looks currently. And so, it kind of stemming from, the old school uniforms, that 70th anniversary uniforms that they had. But I kind of wanted it to look more like the team's current uniforms, right? Like, basically look more like the colors of the team nowadays. And so, try to look back for like inspiration and stuff like that. I know there's old school uniforms back when Sonny Jurgensen used to play, and they had a version that was kind of more of the burgundy, or at least like, that brighter red instead of the dark, dark. I like both versions. I like the dark and I like the burgundy. But yeah, this is a picture which I know this is every Commanders fan's favorite player. I believe it's Josh Dotson. And he, I just think that this color looks so good. Like when I saw this picture, I was like, look, he's dropping the pass, but at the same time, this looks so like this very, 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 very nice. So basically I was like trying to decide how I could maybe design something that could look something similar to this. And so essentially I went to this here, and yeah, look, obviously, like, the first thing is I'll say is that, like, look, I'm still struggling to try to learn how to do, jersey swapping. The two things I didn't have done super well was a face mask, and these are still the numbers from the old or the current uniform, I guess. Obviously they would update the font on that, and then this, I tried to make it as yellow/gold as possible, but this would probably look a little bit better. It was a burgundy face mask, so trying to change it was just something I'm not used to, but ultimately, this is the look that I kind of went for. Instead of that huge commanders across the middle, I went with this emblem. We had seen this emblem kind of showcased on one of their graphics a couple weeks back. And so I kind of wanted to see, like, hey, how would this look if you just put it right here in the center? I really like it. I could also see like a Washington across or something, kind of like how they do on the white jerseys, on the current white jerseys. But yeah, this was kind of the look that I had with it. And I just think it looks very matte. Like, I tried to make the matte look, still here. But look, I took the feather off. I think everybody, there are people who also argue that the feather should be there. They're going away from the Native American, imagery. I wouldn't mind like some kind of like ribbon or something, or like some kind of like something like that would tie so you could take a little bit more of that space or whatever. But if they went just full spear, that's fine. I know people want the feather. I just don't see them going that direction, so that's why I took it off. But got the white numbers as well. I know some people wanted to see gold numbers. I might, try to see if I can, upload a version of that as well. But yeah, this is Trey Amos. I took this picture last year. Yeah, just, I don't know. This is just a look. I would much rather see this. Abolish the taco holder, man. The taco holder W. I'm just over it. And I, as a guy who takes pictures on the sideline, man, like, I would much rather see something that I can gravitate towards more. And this is more of my speed. But I also wanted to see like what the white version would look like too. So, this was a picture I took of Jaden last year. I think it was against the Seahawks game, the infamous Seahawks game. But yeah, I took the taco holder off and put a spear on there, and yeah, man. I mean, I just like the way this looks. The mat looks a little shiny here because it was at night and the light was on it, so it looks a little different. I'm curious of how the mat would look with this kind of spear. That's my biggest concern if they decide to go this way, because I think a lot of people like the matte look on the helmet nowadays versus the glossy. I think the glossy could look good too, depending. But yeah, I mean, still, would I prefer this over the taco holder W? 100%. Like, I mean, this is just, it looks clean to me. Obviously the face mask looks a lot better here because this is the face mask that came with that helmet. So I didn't have to adjust the colors there, but just a really clean look. This is what I would want, man. I think most people would want to see this be their new uniforms versus the W. I think people are just done with the W. I don't think I'm the only one who feels that way. And I think with all the spear, imagery that we've been seeing, last year, I think this is where they would want to go. Now, there are the rules with the NFL on what they can and cannot do. So I think there is possibility that they're going to go with, some kind of alternate with the spear, but then they're going to keep the W maybe for like one more year. That's what I've heard, just through the grapevine. I don't know if that's true. I don't have an idea. Like, obviously that's just things that I've heard. Don't know if that's really going to happen. If they could just skip over and just be done with the W and go straight to spear, I think that would be much more ideal, for this organization. So, and then people wanted to talk about the blacks, man. This is my vision on the black jerseys, right? Like, this is a picture that I took of Jeremy Reeves back in 2022, I believe. And look, I didn't want to keep the spear, white and gold or whatever, because the white just didn't match well with the jersey. There's no white outside on this, black uniform that I felt like, if you went black, I thought it would be just too black. You wanted to, emphasize the burgundy and the gold. There's burgundy trim on the numbers, so just to add a little bit more color to it, I put this on here. I don't think they should get rid of the black jerseys. I think people really like the black jerseys. My favorite picture I've ever taken of Jaden was in that black jersey, and my biggest problem with that is that I hated the little W right in the middle. I just not a fan of it. And I think that, obviously they have the numbers on the side of the helmet. I think the only teams that do that well, obviously Alabama, and I think Penn State has a old school uniform that they have the numbers on the side. But outside of that, I'm not really a fan of the numbers on the side of the helmet like that. And so, yeah, like to kind of still keep those, black Commanders jerseys, I feel like this would be a good look. Obviously the graphic here, could be better. Like, look, I'm playing around with this kind of stuff, but when they really roll out something, I'm sure that they'll have professionals that are drawing this stuff a lot better than what I can do. But at the same time, like taking something from the old school, feel and adding it to something new. I love it, man. And I think that, as much as they want to bring an alternate jersey, like, I think that, people don't want to get rid of the blacks. So many people, when I did this edit last time, were like, what about the black jerseys? What's going to happen with the black jerseys? People don't want to get rid of it. And from what we saw last year, you can have two alternates, right? So they can go with that darker burgundy, as well as the black jerseys as well. So, I think they only can have two helmets though, so you have to be your current helmet, and I'm not sure, actually you might be able to have three helmets, I don't know. But yeah, basically I just kind of wanted to take a stab of how to essentially see what this would look like if they just said, you know what, we're done with the W, we want to wipe off, because that was one thing that so many people said. They need to wipe off all the stink of Dan Snyder, and they, obviously they don't like the Commander's name. I'm not going to say anything about that, but no one likes seeing the Commanders on the front. They did not see that. They did not like seeing it there. I think people loved the spear, but there's things that they wanted to see that was different from it. And so I try to take a lot of the things that people said and try to just redo this. Now, am I going to keep doing this? Probably not. It's probably my last time doing it. I'm not a great jersey swapper, as well as that they're probably going to announce whatever they're going with soon. So I'd rather just see what they're doing, and get a feel of it there. Look, it's off season, so I'm bored as hell waiting for football to come back. But also just, wanted to continue the creative juices and create something here. So let me know what you guys think, man. Give me feedback. Let me know, what do you guys think? What's the vibe that you would want? Obviously there's things here that people will say this is garbage and trash, and there's things that people will like about it. I'm open to criticism, and I also just like discussion. So, if there's things that you think would be better, let me know. Obviously I love playing around with this kind of stuff. And also I just think that this is the conversations that they should be having if they didn't have it already. They might already have their full-time plan on what they're going with. That's fine, but it is kind of cool to see and kind of contemplate what could be coming. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it, the love and support that we get every time we post a video. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're up to, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.